Hello, welcome to another library tutorial in the GIS series. In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect different sets of data using an option in ArcGIS called joining. For this video, I will not be using a base map. To get started, I will quickly add a simple GIS map that outlines different countries. Now this map only shows boundaries. What I want to do is add an extra piece of data to this map that shows relative population sizes. Before we go too far, it's important to note that for many GIS features, shapefiles, and datasets that you import into ArcGIS, you will be able to right-click on them in the table of contents and then click Open Attribute Table. Doing this allows you to see a table that has the raw data for the layer we are looking at. In this example, most of the data in the attribute table is simply different labels in different languages for each of the different countries. Before I start trying to import or join data to this table, I need to use this table to identify attribute fields that will uniquely identify each country or each row. In this case, I think FID or ISO 3 might be good candidates. ISO 3 is probably the best since it is easy to remember and definitely will not repeat since each country only has one ISO code. Since my map layer doesn't include any population data, I will need to find that data elsewhere. Fortunately, I found a dataset from the World Bank website where I was able to easily download a CSV file that contains all of the population data that I am looking for. I will open the CSV file and quickly make sure that it has the data that I want. In this case, there's plenty of population data, and it also looks like there's an entire column filled with ISO codes that help me identify each of the countries. I will save as, save the file to my GIS folder. If you are using CSV files, you will need to make sure that it is actually saved as a CSV file. Sometimes your computer may try to automatically change it to another file type, and you do not want that to happen. Before I close the file, I will quickly tidy up a bit of data and get rid of extra rows at the top. When I'm finished, click Save, and now I'm ready to use ArcGIS. Even though I have saved my file in the appropriate folder, in ArcGIS I will need to right-click on that folder and click Refresh in order to see it. Now the file should appear. Next, drag and drop the data onto the map when you are ready to start using it. Doing this may change your table of contents view from the List by Drawing Order, which is the default view, to the List by Source view. Since the CSV file does not have any GIS data in it, it will only appear in the List by Source view mode. Just like the country layer in the table of contents, we can right-click on the population data and open a table. As you can see, importing data into ArcGIS can be a bit messy sometimes, and sometimes the table headings and labels will get a little bit mixed up. However, in this case it is relatively easy to see that field 2 represents the country ISO codes, and many of the subsequent fields represent population data. Now go ahead and close out of this menu, and we can start connecting the data from our two different layers. On the country layer, right-click, click on Joins and Relates, and then click on Joins. In this menu, in the first field we will choose the attribute that we want to use as a reference point. This is coming from the country layer, so I will select ISO 3. The population file is already selected in the next field, and now we will choose an attribute from that data to serve as a reference point. Remember, the ISO codes were in field 2, so in this case I will select that and then click OK. Now let's check to make sure the data was joined correctly. Right-click on the country layer and open the attribute table. If we scroll far enough to the right, we will find the data from the CSV file. You will also see that there are quite a few fields that are blank or have a value of null. This is because the two different data sets do not match perfectly. This is probably because some countries were missing from one list, or maybe the other list included territories that aren't strictly considered sovereign states. While this isn't really a problem for my example and for my demonstration, in the future you will want to critically assess the quality and accuracy of your data whenever these kinds of problems emerge. Lastly, now that we have joined the tables, we can represent population data on the map. Open the Properties menu for the country layer and go to the Symbology tab. Here, change the selection from Features to Quantities. In the Value field, you can select any attribute with a number value. I happen to remember that field 58 represented population data from 2013, so I will select that. ArcGIS will then automatically break down the range of numbers into a 5-step scale. Each step on the scale will represent a fixed range of population values and be shaded using a default color scheme. You can increase the number of steps to create more detailed maps, as well as changing the color schemes to match your needs. Click Apply and click OK, and now we can see each country is colored with a different shade according to its population. Ultimately, there are many ways that you can import, join, and represent data in ArcGIS. If you ever have any problems or questions about using ArcGIS or research in general, don't forget to ask a librarian. Thank you, and have a nice day.